Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show. Everything in front of him was really beyond Lin Yu's expectations. He didn't expect that before going to the primitive continent, he would have to test his strength level and choose the territory of the principality to go to. And according to what the person just said, the areas they were in before were all under the jurisdiction of the principalities on the primitive continent, and they were specially used to cultivate and accept new lords and strengthen the strength of the principalities. Under such careful consideration, this primitive continent seems to be much wider than he imagined, and it may even be far beyond his imagination. It really deserves to be a primitive continent that can accommodate all worlds. I just don't know if the blockade in the area where he was before was done by one of the principalities. Thinking of this, Lin Yu's expression became more solemn. He must avenge this revenge. But before taking revenge, you still have to dig out the identity of this enemy, and you must have enough strength, otherwise everything will be empty talk. The only thing that is fortunate is that it will take a long time for all those people in the area to reach the 6th rank. If it can be saved in the future, it would be even better. After strolling around the void platform again, Lin You and the others were not found. Lin You guessed. They either left the platform after testing, or were teleported to another platform. After all, there cannot be only one platform like this. If possible, Lin You hoped that they could teleport near him, so that the revenge plan would also have multiple helpers. It seems that we can only talk about it on the primitive continent first. While thinking about it, Lin You followed the crowd to the center of the platform. I saw that the names of the corresponding principalities were engraved on the 10 portals in the center of the platform. What about Liuhua Principality, Feilwan Principality, Yuehua Principality, and so on? Around the portal, there are many pillars of light, guarded by the 10 principality representatives in different costumes. Once the lords stand up, they will show the type of troops in their territory and their comprehensive assessment. Every time an assessment appeared, it would cause an uproar in the surrounding crowd. Lin You squeezed into the crowd to observe for a while, and found that most of these lords were rated E, and occasionally AD would appear. See these ratings. Those testers didn't even bother to blink their eyes, so the lord who had finished the test quickly went to choose a kingdom and passed through the portal. It is said that this assessment has a total of 9 grades, from the highest SSS to the lowest F grade. So many levels? Then why are we all E level? E rank is not bad, at least it can be assigned to normal places. There was an F rank rookie just now, and it was directly assigned to the most desolate land. That would be called a miserable one. Ah? Is there such a thing? These people around have obviously spent a lot of time on the platform and learned a lot of information. Lin You was also very surprised when he listened to it. In addition, the allocation of land in the principality must be calculated according to the comprehensive assessment. In other words, the higher the rating, the better the land and location allocated. This surprised him a bit. Just as he was thinking about it, a shout full of excitement suddenly came from a distance. Doll-type territory. Comprehensive assessment C level. Class C. There is a C-ranked lord. The people who were still discussing suddenly burst into an uproar. I saw in one of the beams of light, a young man with an arrogant face slowly walked out and came to the center of the crowd. Those representatives of the principality changed their indifference just now, and scrambled to stand in front of the youth. How about it, are you interested in joining our Yuehua kingdom? We can give you the best treatment. Luhua Nation, can also offer the same conditions. Come to our Luhua Nation. The king of our Tianyong kingdom is the domain of the humanoid system, and coming to our Tianyong kingdom will definitely give you a better development. The representatives of the principality were talking all over, inviting the young man to join him. Obviously, the C level is a very good rating for a principality, otherwise they would not be so enthusiastic. Of 10 testers, only one ricked old man still sat upright in the corner and did not come forward to issue an invitation, which was enough to show that this guess was correct. With the help of the representatives of the principality, the young man finally chose the Tianyong kingdom, which is dominated by the humanoid domain. This decision immediately caused the other principality representatives to regret for a while, and they returned to their original positions. It seems that they have no way to decide which principality the lords want to join. This is good news for Lin You. And from the conversation just now, it seems that the rulers of those principalities, like them, were born as lords, and they also have various types of arms. I just don't know what level those kings have reached. If he also reaches that level in the future, can he also establish a duchy? This can be considered. Lin You couldn't help rubbing his chin and became more looking forward to it. And just when he was thinking about it, several representatives of the principality who returned to their original positions also began to chat. Alas, the quality of the Lord's seedlings this time is not very good. It took so long to produce a C rank, isn't that right? The task given to me this time is to recruit 10 C levels. Just thinking about it, I know it's impossible to complete. Don't say C level, D level is pitiful. There's no way. Like these small areas under us, some of them are good. No matter what is comparable to the large areas controlled by the Empire and the Kingdom, you can come out with an A level, casually. If I knew it earlier, I wouldn't take this drudgery. Ugh. After talking about this, several people sighed helplessly, then stopped talking and continued to test the lords. After a while. Finally, it was Lin Yu's turn to test. In an uneasy mood, he came to the beam of light and looked at the testers. Stand up. The other party didn't seem to be in a good mood, and he returned to his indifferent appearance before, not even looking at Lin Yu. Lin Yu had no choice but to slowly walk into the beam of light. As soon as he stood still, a warm current rushed through his body, washing his mind. At the same time, a piece of data appeared on the beam of light where he was. The plant is a territory, and the comprehensive assessment is F grade. F class? The tester was stunned. Lin Yu, who was in the beam of light, was also stunned. He never imagined that his overall assessment was actually the lowest F grade. Could it be that, is it because he has too few troops? Before he could think about it, Yu reading www.yuukanshu. There was a burst of laughter on the side of calm. Haha, look, here's another F-class one. There's actually someone who can get the lowest rating. How did he get to the 6th rank? F level, this is too miserable. How weak is this to get this rating? I guess no principality wants him, right? Listening to the ridicule on the side, the tester's face gradually darkened. Grade F, there is no worse rating than this. Not to mention the tester next to Lin Yu, even the representatives sent from other principalities looked disgusted, for fear that Lin Yu would choose their principality. This time, Lin Yu's whole person is not well. He is almost 100% sure that this assessment is absolutely related to the number of arms and resources. After all, he had just passed through the Grey Fog area, and he had already lost most of his troops, and his resources had been exhausted. With the only 3 Tier 6 arms and a few other Tier 5 arms in his current territory, how could he compare to dozens or even dozens of lords of Tier 6 arms? It's really a failure. Lin Yu frowned deeply. He knew it by seeing how secretive the principality representatives were to him. If he really joined their principality, he would definitely not have a good look, and he would even be assigned the worst treatment. This is the beginning of hell. But if he didn't choose to join the principality, then he wouldn't be able to go to the primitive continent, which would put him in an extremely embarrassing situation, and he didn't know what to do. If you don't dislike it, come to our great wild country. At this moment, an old voice suddenly came from the side. This voice appeared very suddenly. The crowd, who were still discussing, suddenly looked in the direction of the voice. I saw the only old man who did not invite the sea-level youth to join. I don't know when I got up, leaned on crutches, and looked at Lin Yu with a kind smile on his face. Lao Mo, do you really want him to join your great desolate country? The representative of the Fire Kingdom asked with a frown. He seemed to know the old man. Even Lin Yu himself was extremely surprised. His comprehensive evaluation is so low, and there are people who are willing to accept him? Surprised, he couldn't help but ask, are you sure you want me to join? Of course. The old man's smile was still kind. But like them, I can't give you too many resources. If you can accept it, come to our great wild country. Those undisguised sincere words finally moved Lin You. After watching the old man silently for a while, he nodded solemnly. Okay, I'll go. After speaking, he walked out of the beam of light and came to the old man. The old man did not show the slightest rejection because of his comprehensive assessment. Instead, he said with a smile, "Don't pay too much attention to other people's opinions. When I first came here, I was just like you, and I didn't come to this point." Lao Mo also came from another world? Lin You looked startled. Yes, it's not just me. The lords of the entire primitive continent are gathered from countless shattered worlds, but the time is different. Mo Lao seemed to be very satisfied with Lin Yu's courtesy, and it was rare to explain it to him. When I first arrived here, in fact, like you, I also had the lowest F-level rating. I haven't reached this point step by step, so you don't need to be too disappointed. Elder Mo is the same as me. Lin Yu's face was full of surprise. This old man, who seems to be much stronger than him, has the same lowest rating as him, which is unbelievable. At the same time, he finally understood why the other party invited him. Thinking of this, he bowed deeply to Mo Lao. Thank you, I will remember this kindness. Okay, I'm not sure whether we can meet in the future. Take this, and enter the gate of time and space. You'll know what to do when you get there. Mr. Mo handed a dim crystal stone to Lin You and waved to him. Just like what Lin You thought. The reason why he invited Lin You was just because he had the same illness and couldn't bear to make him look like this, but it is obviously impossible to reach the level that makes him pay attention. After all, each of them represents their respective principalities, and they are burdened with the task of recruiting talents. The addition of Lin You is optional to him, it is just a comfort to his heart, and he will not believe that he can really rise. Lin You naturally knew this, so he didn't say much. Taking the crystal, he turned around and walked towards the portal marked Great Wild Country, and disappeared in a blink of an eye. And the laughter on the side stopped abruptly here. Primitive continent. In the farthest corner, a piece of yellow sand pervades the edge of the Gobi, where the scorching sun shines brightly. A pair of ragged mother and daughter cuddled with each other, carefully walking outside a small lush town with broken eaves and broken walls. Mother, do you think the Lord will come to us this year? The little girl's voice was low, and she looked up with difficulty to look at the woman in rags beside her. She looked like she was only about 7 or 8 years old, but she was sallow, skinny, and felt like she could be blown over by any gust of wind. Even the women beside her had sunken cheeks and were very thin and trembling when they walked. Hearing her daughter's question, the woman forced an ugly smile, lowered her head and reached out to touch her daughter's head. There will be. In a short while, the Lord should come here, and then we can live a good life. But mother, you said the same thing last year. The little girl pursed her lips, as if she knew that the woman was lying to her. Women's smiles are even more ugly. In her sunken and numb eye sockets, there was a hint of helplessness and distress. He took his daughter to his side, and said softly, "How could mother lie to you? Don't you think that a lord also came last year? But I heard Urga next door say that the Lord left within a month." The girl raised her head again. The woman looked at her innocent expression, her eyes trembled, but she quickly hid it. She touched the back of the girl's head. "Yaya, don't listen to those 2 dogs, let's go to the city to do the New Year's Eve and pray for blessings. After we finish, mother will take you to eat sugar cakes." "Really? That's great, then let's go and pray." As soon as she heard the sugar cake, Yaya jumped up with joy, and immediately forgot about the Lord's affairs. Her little face was flushed, and she no longer looked weak. The woman looked at her cheering with a complicated expression on her face, but it turned into a bitter smile in the end. Holding Yaya's little hand, she continued to walk towards the dilapidated city. This city is not big. Only a few miles in radius, it can't even be called a city. The walls and buildings are basically made of mud, and most of them have long been devastated by wind and sand, and there are no guards to guard them. Walking on the street, there will even be a piece of yellow sand from time to time. But in such a harsh environment, today many people bring their families to pray for blessings at the statue of the Lord in the central square of the city. I hope that a Lord will come to their land this year, bring them to prosperity, and let them live a good life. The whole street was lively, with neighbors coming and going everywhere, greeting each other. It was even more lively than the New Year. Yo, isn't this old Wang? I haven't seen you for a few days. Why are there a few patches missing on your clothes? Look at what you said today is the day to pray for blessings, can you dress better? Haha, that's right, maybe some Lord was touched by you, and it really came to us. If only this was the case, I won't brag with you. I have to go to pray quickly. Okay, you go first, I'll be there later after I pack up. During the conversation, many people rushed to the city. At this time, a huge dilapidated statue in the center of the city was crowded with people who came to pray. Everyone recited something in their mouths, kneeling and bowing to the statue, extremely pious. This kind of scene appears once a year, and it has long been accustomed to them, and has even formed a custom. And in this lively atmosphere, time passed quickly. It was noon in the blink of an eye. The blazing sun above his head was in the sky, and the ground was irradiated a little illusory. But strangely, the crowd in the square never meant to disperse. Instead, they gathered more and more, all gathered around the statue, looking up at the sky, as if waiting for something. However, as time passed, the sky did not move at all. The hope in their eyes gradually turned into disappointment. Alas! It seems that no Lord has come to us again this year. An old man leaning on a cane looked at the sky tremblingly, his eyes full of helplessness. In a remote and barren place like them, let alone the Lord, even ordinary people would not want to come and live. With a sigh, the old man gradually turned around, preparing to leave here. Grandpa, look! There is light from the sky. Suddenly, an exclamation sounded at this moment. Congratulations, you have successfully landed on the primitive continent. The world channel opens, the region changes, the current region, the great wilderness. It is detected that the Lord has left the secondary plane, the restrictions on the basic types of arms are lifted, and the recruitment limit is increased. Upgrading personal space, unlocking the power of belief, unlocking the function of territorial people, unlocking the function of building, unlocking the function of territory management. New territory content, please check it in the territory by yourself. Listening to a lot of information that kept ringing in his mind, Lin You, who had just landed, was completely stunned. What's the situation? Why did you suddenly unlock a lot of new features? What made him even more bewildered was that, as soon as he stood still, a large group of people immediately appeared in front of him, kneeling and bowing to him excitedly, and shouting, "Meet the Lord." Lin You admitted that he was really handsome. But he was not so handsome that he attracted so many people's adoration as soon as he appeared. And just when he was confused, a voice suddenly sounded in his mind. A matching unknown territory is detected, do you want to transfer the territory? And many more. Unclaimed territory? Could it be that this is the territory allocated to him? Lin You hurriedly took out the crystal that Mo Lao gave him from his personal space, and it really was emitting a dazzling light. And the people kneeling on the ground made a series of exclamations when they saw his crystal. Certificate of Territory Relocation. It is a certificate of territory relocation issued by the king. It's really Lord is really coming to us. Meet the Lord. In an instant, the large group of people in front of them knelt down again, with extremely excited expressions. Seeing this, Lin You still doesn't know that this is the territory allocated to him. Just this place. It's too bad, isn't it? Not to mention the yellow sand that fills the sky. What is this pitted city wall? What are these dilapidated buildings and streets all made of mud? And these people in rags, with yellow faces and thin skin, who look like they will collapse when the wind blows, are they his subjects? This time, Lin You really lived in Bangbu. He finally understood now why those people looked at him with pity. With such bad conditions, I am afraid that few people are willing to come here. Mother, why doesn't the Lord speak? Does he hate us? Below, the little girl timidly looked at Lin You, who was contemplating on the stage, and asked her mother beside her. And this question came right into the ears of Lin You on stage. He raised his head and looked at the little girl, only to see the little girl clutching the dirty rag doll in her hand tightly and withdrawing into the woman's arms in fear. When the woman saw this, she was shocked. Lord, Lord, please forgive me. Lord, Lord, please forgive me. My daughter is ignorant, please Lord, Lord. While speaking, he also bowed down, his face full of fear. It made Lin You even more speechless. He can't eat people? Do you need to be scared like this? But it was precisely because of the mother and daughter that he finally regained his senses and fully understood his situation. Seeing the terrified expressions of those around him, he immediately showed a smile. It's okay, she didn't do anything wrong, you don't have to be so afraid of me, and I don't know how to eat people. Thank you, Lord, for your kindness. When the woman heard this, she was overjoyed and hurriedly thanked her. Okay, you all get up first, and also, who are you talking about here? Lin You scanned the crowd. After a while, an old man on crutches stood up tremblingly with the help of others, and slowly came to the front of the stage. Lord, Lord, I am the acting city lord of Huangsha City, Shuechanggue. Having said that, he bowed deeply to Lin You again. Looking at him like that, Lin You was afraid that he would suddenly burp, so he immediately stepped down to support him. Lord, Lord, can't do it, can't do it. Shuechanggue pushed his hands again and stepped back in fear. Fortunately, the young man beside him supported him, otherwise he would have fallen to the ground. Lin You smiled helplessly, and had to say, well, let's find a place first. I want to know about this. The specific situation of Huangsha City, is it inconvenient to know? It's convenient, of course it's convenient, Lord, Lord, please come with me. Shuechanggue turned around and made a please gesture. It can be seen that compared to other subjects, Shuechanggue's self-cultivation is relatively high. Under his leadership, Lin You also quickly left the square. When he was no longer to be seen, the subjects below stood up one after another with excitement written all over their faces. Great! We finally have another lord here. Is this the new lord of our Yellow Sand City? He looks so majestic. I was so frightened just now that my legs were weak. Me too, I almost didn't lie down. I don't know what the Lord will tell the city lord. Shoo! Don't ask around, let's hurry up and take the news home. Yes, let's go home first. The subjects dispersed in a hurry, and they all left the square in a blink of an eye. On the other side, Lin You and Shuechanggue also came to a decent big house to learn about the specific situation here. I don't know this question. After asking, Lin You was taken aback. According to Shuechanggue, this Yellow Sand City is located in the most remote and desolate corner of the Great Desolate Country. Not only is there a shortage of resources, but even people have run almost as fast as they are, the old and weak, women and children, and a small number of people who are unwilling to leave. It adds up to no more than 500. It's like a dead city. And the last lord, because he couldn't stand the harsh conditions here, just moved here a month and moved the territory. Until Lin You arrived, 3 full years had passed. Lin You estimated that the reason why the previous lord took a month to leave was probably to collect enough magic energy to move the territory. This time he really had nothing to say. Although he had foreseen that the territory he was assigned would not be very good, he did not expect it to be so bad. Does he want to collect enough 60,000 mana and then move the territory to another place like the previous lord? To be honest, Lin You still couldn't bear it. Especially seeing Shuechanggue and the fiery gazes of the few people next to him looking at him eagerly, as well as their nervous and reserved appearance, he couldn't even say it. Obviously, they also hope that a lord will take over their place and lead them to prosperity. Not to mention the great wealth, but at least it will not be like now, one by one, leaving their hometowns and finally choosing to escape from here. Ugh. Anyway, he has no other place to go now. It seems that he can only settle down here temporarily. Lin You sighed in his heart, and finally moved his heart of pity. He glanced at the few people around him and Shwe, looked at their tattered clothes, and finally said, "Call all the people in charge of the city, I have something to tell them." "So the Lord is willing to stay?" Shwe was shocked, and his cloudy eyes instantly lit up. The few people on the side also looked at each other excitedly, beaming with joy. Seeing Lin You nod, Shwe immediately responded, "Okay, I'll call someone to call them over immediately." "Lord, please wait here for a while." It didn't take a while. All the people in charge of Huangsha City were called over. Lin You stood on the steps, looking at the ragged figures below, but standing upright, he couldn't help feeling emotional. Even the people in charge are living such a miserable life, not to mention the territorial people below. I'm afraid it's even a problem to eat. So he didn't waste any more time and said aloud, "From today onwards, I, Lin You, are the Lord here. I called you here today. In addition to announcing this matter, there is another important thing for you to do, which is to do the statistics again for the places you are responsible for. Count the population and various information in the city, and then put them together and give it to me. If you want all of them, can you do it before dark tomorrow?" "Can." The people below responded excitedly. As early as on the way here, they had already heard the news that the Lord was staying. Hearing the first task given by Lin You, one by one immediately blushed and vowed to complete this task successfully. Lin You on the steps nodded, very satisfied with their response. After saying a few words of encouragement, they dismissed them, and then walked out of the city under the leadership of Shwe and others. Originally, Lin You didn't want Shwe to follow him. After all, he was already so old. But no matter what Lin You said, he insisted on following him, saying that he wanted to sit beside Lin You. There was no way, Lin You had no choice, but to leave him alone. Soon, under the eyes of the leaders on the street, the team came to a huge open space outside the city. Lord, this is where the previous Lord moved his territory." Shwe looked back at Lin You. "Okay, you all stay away, wait until I move the territory here." Lin You took out the crystal from his personal space. When Shwe and the others saw this, they hurriedly stepped back and stayed far away. "A matching unknown territory is detected, do you want to transfer the territory?" The voice in my mind sounded again. Lin You took a deep breath and chose yes. In an instant, the crystal radiated light and slowly floated into the air. Under the illumination of the crystal, the space suddenly distorted, as if it overlapped with another plane. Lin Yu's territory is also being twisted and gradually revealed. The tree of life that stopped towering suddenly attracted the residents on the streets of the city to stop and exclaimed, "Look! What a big tree! Is this the Lord's territory? It's so spectacular! What kind of plant is that? How can there be such a huge vine? Look up, it seems that there are dragons flying in the sky." The appearance of Lin Yu's territory can be said to have caused a great sensation. Even the people who stayed at home ran to the street one after another, watching this incomparably spectacular scene. This is also the first time in Huangsha City. It is amazing to see so many plants growing and shouting one by one. What surprised Lin You was that the location of this territory was very cleverly chosen. It happened to be in a place surrounded by mountains on both sides, which just blocked the wind and sand in the sky and was not affected by the wind and sand. At the moment when the territory was successfully relocated, several reminders sounded in his mind. The territory is successfully bound, the current territory, Huangsha City. You can view the current territory situation through territory information. Hearing the prompt, Lin You asked Shwe and others to go back first and wait. Then he couldn't wait to walk into the territory. Click on the territory information to see that there are many more functions. Territory name, Tree of Life. Territory level, Tier 6, 0/500. Territory durability, 2250/2250. Recruited troops, plants. Number of recruits, 13/120. Territory introduction, the Lord's survival is fundamental, with various functions, the core of the territory is destroyed, and the lord dies. Upgrade requirements: wood, 3000/3000, stone, 6734/3000, iron ore, 210/1500, copper ore, 30/1500, magic energy, 3046/5000, 6th order territorial essence, 0/10. Note: plants are territorial, and wood is self-supplied. Subsidiary territory: Huangsha City. World Channel Regional Channel Ranking Faith Skill Minority Building Resource Management. In addition to the World Channel and Regional Channel, 7 functions have been added. It is many times richer than before. Lin You clicked on the World Channel and saw that it was actually unlocked. There was a lot of news on it, and it also had the suffix Saint Yao Kingdom. This Lin You had heard from Shuechonggue that the Great Wild Country he was in was one of the 10 major duchies under the Xingyao Kingdom, and the suffix of the regional channel has also become the word Great Wild Country. Lin You tried it out, and found that there is a charge for sending messages in these 2 channels. The World Channel has 1000 magic energy, and the Regional Channel has 100 magic energy, which is even worse than the Black Businessman. No wonder the news is so much less than expected. Just relying on this chat channel, these kingdoms and principalities are probably going to make crazy money. It's too dark. Lin You couldn't help but complain. At the same time very envious, even on a regional channel, as long as 100 people send messages every day, that's 10,000 mana. That's 10,000 mana. He can only earn it by hunting and killing monsters for several days, but people only need to move a finger. It is true that people are more popular than dead people. After closing the chat channel, Lin You clicked on the other functions in turn to continue viewing, and also roughly understood these functions. For example, territory is used to manage and count the people in the territory, building is used to construct buildings in the territory, and resources is used to count all the materials in the territory. And the territory here also includes his current subsidiary territory, Huangsha City. These are nothing. What Lin You cared about most was the new power of faith. That is, the extra string of numbers after the territory level. Faith, provided by the lords, the richer the territory and the more residents, the stronger the sense of belonging, the more the power of faith provided, the stronger the lord's own strength. Required for unlocking some functions and necessary for upgrading territories above tier 6. This. After reading the introduction, Lin You was stunned. The increase in the power of belief can actually make him improve his strength. This made him a little excited. But when he saw the conditions for obtaining the power of faith, he instantly wilted. What he lacks the most right now is the wealth of the territory and the people. Although he didn't know how long it would take to upgrade the 500 points of faith power required to upgrade to the 7th rank, it was definitely not easy. Have to. He really has to build this subsidiary territory now. Fortunately, this did not violate his original intention. After all, he planned to build Huangsha City from the very beginning, and the power of faith just added a goal to him. And Huangsha City, it will also be the first starting point for him to come to the primitive continent. Thinking of this, Lin Yu's expression instantly became serious. I checked the various functions again, and after a rough understanding, I clicked on the recruitment interface. He remembered clearly that when he first teleported here, the system prompted a sentence: restrictions on basic types of arms lifted. Restrictions lifted. In other words, there are more types of basic units that he can mutate. Not just the previous ones. This is definitely great news for him who has the ability to mutate. If it is someone else, you may need to go everywhere to find arm tokens and unlock new arms. But he didn't. You only need to spend magic energy to mutate, and you can directly obtain these newly unlocked units. This is also the basis for his rapid rise. After opening the recruitment interface, Lin You took a look. The recruitable units are still the same as the original units, but the recruiting limit has been directly increased to 120, which is more than doubled from before. Considering that the Tower of Arms may be raised to Tier 6 later, it is possible to directly study and recruit Tier 6 troops. He also didn't spend all his magic energy on recruiting. After all, he only has 3,000 mana left now, so he has to save some money. After thinking about it for a while, only 10 grass and tree spirits were recruited. Looking at the light clusters that appeared in front of him, Lin You directly used his mutation ability on one of them. The mutation of the 5th tier troops needs to consume 100 points of mana. Do you want to continue? Yes. The light flashed, and the light group in front of Lin You changed rapidly, turning into a chubby pumpkin. Lin You was taken aback for a moment, but he didn't expect a new type of army to appear in the first one. She hurriedly checked the pumpkin information. Name, Fear Pumpkin. Race, Plant. Level 5, 0/250. Strength, 0. Physical, 50. Agility, 200. Spirit, 150. Skills, Protection of plants and trees, Escape, put away the roots and roll away at a very fast speed, Sowing, spread pumpkin seeds, grow pumpkins in designated locations, and can also grow in harsh environments and are edible. Introduction, he is very timid and will run away immediately when he encounters danger. Lin You. Seeing the attributes of the pumpkin in front of him, Lin Yu's face was full of black lines. Fear of pumpkins? It's you who is coordinating the fear. In order to escape, you just filled up your agility, right? He didn't expect that there would be such outrageous plants in the unlocked basic units. It was just a joke. But immediately, Lin You discovered the advantage of this fear pumpkin. It can sow. And it can grow in harsh environments. Isn't this what he lacks most in his territory? Although pumpkin is not a staple food, it is still a food, isn't it? Moreover, the sugar content is extremely high, so it is perfect for planting for his subjects. Come on, let's try sowing seeds here. Lin You pointed to the open space next to him and said to the fearful pumpkin. After receiving the order, the fearful pumpkin that was wriggling on the ground immediately put away its rhizomes, rolled to Lin Yu's feet, spit out yellow seeds in front of him, and sank into the ground. Then it inserted the rhizome into the ground and twisted back and forth beside the pumpkin patch, looking very happy. Lin You looked at those pumpkin seeds in surprise. It only took a few minutes, and a bud had already burst out of the ground, slowly growing under the wraps of fluorescent light. Lin You knew that it was because these seeds were planted around the tree of life that they grew so fast. If it is planted for those territorial people, it should not have this effect. But even so, it is enough to promote it to the territorial people to plant. After all, there is no way for ordinary plants to be planted here, only a seed can be planted. Lin You didn't expect that this harsh environment would instead highlight the advantages of his plant domain, and he could solve a big problem so easily. Then, Lin You continued to mutate the remaining 9 plant spirits. The result was as he expected, the variety of mutants became much richer, and there were even several wheat varieties and potato varieties like the fear pumpkin. And it can grow in harsh environments, which will expand his planting army, and the remaining half has mutated into the combat arms he is familiar with, and no new ones have appeared. It is estimated that the number of mutations is too small. It seems that we can only talk about it after accumulating more magic energy in the future. As for the remaining 1,000 mana points, I will temporarily leave it for emergency use. In the event of an emergency, you can directly recruit 5th Order with demon dragons or pink demon girls to fight. Now the security and food issues are barely resolved. Next is the construction of the affiliated territories, as well as the exploration of various resources, the collection of information, and the exploration of the surrounding environment. With so many things to do, it's really a long way to go. It is worth mentioning that, after the accumulation of experience on the road in the past few days, Qingting has been successfully promoted to the 6th rank, and the Mushroom Demon King has also risen to the 5th rank. The 6th Order green vines and vine forests extend directly from 100 meters to 200 meters, forming a terrifying and eerie forest outside Huangsha City. From a distance, I thought it was the rhizome of the Tree of Life, which made the subjects dare not get close. Not to mention the Mushroom Demon King. The blasting ability index increases, and a large hole can be blasted at once. Moreover, he has an active temper. If it wasn't for Lin Yu's pressure, I'm afraid the territory would be blown up by it. He glanced at the mushroom demon king, who was jumping in the distance. With a wry smile, Lin Yu sent the wood demon dragon to inform Shuechangui to send someone over, and at the same time let the mutant plants start producing seeds, ready to be distributed to the people to plant. Another 10 minutes passed. Shuechangui took the steward beside him to the outside of the vine forest, and walked in with some fear. To their surprise, those terrifying-looking vines spontaneously made way for them to lead directly into Lin Yu's territory. After a while, the two came to the territory. "Why are you here? Didn't I say let your steward come?" Lin Yu, who was collecting seeds, looked at the two of them. "The Lord is summoned, of course I have to come over in person," Shuechangui said righteously and sternly, while secretly observing the surroundings, with shock written all over his eyes. It was the first time he had seen such an exaggerated territory. Even the Lord who came here before did not have such a scale. Especially the various strange plants in the territory made him an eye-opener, and immediately bowed respectfully. "I don't know why the Lord called me here. Why?" "Oh, it's nothing, just give you some food seeds, and let you take them back and distribute them to the colonists to plant." With that said, Lin Yu took a few large bags made of animal skins from the side and put them in front of Shuechangui. "This is..." Shuechangui and the steward beside him looked at Lin Yu with puzzled faces. "These are the seeds of wheat, pumpkin, and potatoes. I specially made them. They can be planted even in this environment." "Can it be planted here?" Shuechangui and the two were shocked and looked at the 3 bags of seeds in disbelief. "You know, the reason why they lived so poor, the biggest reason is because of environmental problems." Now Lin Yu actually told them that there were seeds that could be planted in this environment, so how could they not be excited, even so excited that they couldn't even speak? "Oh right, I still have a few corpses of monsters here. You also ask someone to take them back with you. Let's add a meal to the people tonight." With that said, Lin Yu took out the corpse of the previously stored monster from his personal space, and with a bang, several heads formed a hill. With that huge size, it would not be a problem to feed more than 500 people. This shocked Shuechangui and the others, and they recovered from the shock. He said very excitedly, "Okay. I'll go and call someone to use a carriage to pull it. Thank you Lord for the reward." After thanking him, he left in a hurry with a happy expression on his face. After a while, they returned to the city and spread the matter out, causing an uproar in the whole city, and they all mobilized. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. The planting of seeds was much faster than expected. Just when it was about to get dark, Lin Yu had already received the news that the planting had been completed. All of them were planted in the leeward belt outside the city, on a large area of open space specially reclaimed, just enough to block the wind and sand with the city wall. This made Lin Yu can't help but sigh. These people are really used to living a hard life, and they are not ambiguous when they work. Seeing that it was getting dark, Lin Yu sent the wooden demon dragon to fly over Huangsha City to check the situation of the people. But unexpectedly found that the city did not have the expected cheers and celebrations, lively snacks. On the contrary, everyone held a cloth bag in their hands and rushed back to their own homes with joy on their faces. "Mother, do we have meat to eat?" On the street, a little girl looked at the burlap bag in the hands of the woman next to her with red cheeks. The woman's face is yellow and thin, her cheeks are sunken, but her eyes are filled with undisguised joy. She said softly, "Yes, the Lord sent us a lot of meat today, saying that it was a reward for us to cultivate farmland. Tonight, let's take a little out of the broth and drink it, and store the rest as dried meat for later use. Eat slowly." "That's great, I finally have broth to drink." The little girl jumped and jumped, jumping for joy. As if drinking broth was such a happy thing for her. And similar scenes also happened in every corner of the street at this time, so Lin Yu couldn't help frowning, and then gradually let go. These territorial people, it's really hard to live. She was not willing to eat all the meat she was given, but she had to save it and eat it slowly. Fortunately, Shuechangue said that the meat was a reward he gave to his subjects to reclaim their farmland, presumably to make them feel at ease. Lin You couldn't help sighing in his heart, and at the same time an inexplicable emotion emerged. What is a lord? A lord is both the master of the territory and the pillar of the territory. Compared to the past, the many things he is facing now, maybe he can truly be called a lord. What's more, he also expects these territorial people to develop and provide him with the power of faith. Thinking of this, Lin You clicked on the territory information, and found that the power of faith behind the territory level actually increased by 3 points. It seems that his actions today gave the lords a sense of belonging, and they respected him as a lord in their hearts, and finally increased the power of faith. No wonder he always felt that his strength seemed to have increased a little. If this trend continues, maybe it won't be long before he can accumulate enough 500 faith points to level up. Turn off the territory information, and then turn on the regional channel. Because the sky was getting dark, the news on the channel began to increase, and many new lords like him appeared. Brothers, ask a question. I've been here for a day, how come the power of belief doesn't increase at all? It's the same with me. I've been assigned a territory of 5,000 people, and it hasn't risen for a day. A group of newcomers, the power of faith is not the more people you lead, the faster it grows. Do you understand belief? You have to lead the people to have faith in you. I thought you were playing single player in Novice Village? Do you know what a lord is? Don't be a lord if you can't even manage the people. Haha, don't laugh at these newcomers, they just came here. What can they know? That's right, when I first came here, I didn't feel a little sullen. Now it's their turn for rookies to try it. A message of 100 magic energy, let's leave this chat. Sure enough, as Mo Lao said, there are many lords in this principality who arrived earlier than them. As soon as he saw that new rookie lords had joined, he immediately started making jokes, telling those new lords that they dared not come forward. However, Lin You also got a very important message from their conversation. The increase in the power of faith does not depend solely on the number of subjects. Although the number of subjects will also have an impact, the most important thing is to make them feel a sense of belonging and dependence on the territory. Just like the people under his command now. The days were a bit miserable. But he knows how to be grateful. These 3 points of faith have already crushed all the new lords. After watching the regional channel and the world channel for a while, I didn't find any news about the regional blockade. It's probably not easy to find clues from here. After all, the culprit wasn't a fool, so how could he publicize such a thing? In desperation, Lin You had to turn off the channel and do other things first. After all, I just moved here, and there are still a lot of things to prepare, but it's not the time to watch people chat. And he was busy until late at night. Early the next morning, Lin You Tian woke up at dawn. After simply taking a shower and putting on his coat, he quickly came under the territory. After a night's accumulation, the fire-bathing lotus provided him with more than 300 magical energy. Building name, Bathing Fire Lotus. Building level, level 6. Resource acquisition, 30 mana/hour. Introduction, a lotus flower containing magical energy that can grow in any environment, and its level increases with the territory. The fire-bathed lotus that has risen to the 6th level, the magic energy provided per hour has risen to 30 points. Although a lot, it is still a drop in the bucket for him. Not even many new buildings could be built. Like the territorial shield he just discovered. Building name, Territory Shield. Architecture introduction. When the territory is attacked, it is automatically turned on to protect the territory. The effect is extremely strong. The higher the territory level, the greater the consumption, and it needs to be recharged. Charge consumption, territory level x 1000, magic energy/time. Construction required, 500 stone, 500 magic powder, 2500 magic energy. Lin You had been looking forward to this protective cover for a long time. When he found it in the building list yesterday, he was happy for a long time. As long as he has this shield, his territory will be much safer. Don't worry that the attacked territory will be destroyed immediately. The 6,000 mana required to charge the 6th order territory is acceptable, after all, it is for emergency use at critical times. But this magic powder and magic energy stumped him. I don't know where to start. www.lightnovel.com. So after a simple meal, Lin You called Su Zhong, the steward next to Shuicheng Gue, and asked him about the territory things around. Lord, do you want to ask where there are monsters and magic powder near us? Su Zhong stood in front of Lin You, extremely respectful. Yes. Lin You nodded. You have lived here for so long, you should know something, right? Of course the little one knows that magic powder is sold on those traveling merchants who occasionally pass by here. As for monsters, they can only be found in the depths of the Gobi. Any businessmen will pass by here? Lin Yu was a little surprised to hear that. Yes, because this is the junction between the Great Wilderness Country and the Fire Country. Sometimes there will be traveling merchants from the Great Wilderness Country who cross the Gobi to do business. Many of our things are bought from the merchants. The border between the two countries? Yes, passing through this Gobi is the country of fire. Su Zhong replied respectfully, but I heard that recently, because of the turmoil in the depths of the Gobi, no one dared to enter the Gobi. It is estimated that it will take a long time for businessmen to come. It turned out to be so. Lin Yu suddenly realized. He didn't expect that after crossing this Gobi, it would be another principality. It seems that this place is quite remote. But it was also a huge opportunity for him. If he can open up the trade between the two countries, it will definitely be extremely beneficial to the development of his territory, even more beneficial than those lords who are assigned to rich territories. But immediately, Lin Yu suddenly thought of a question and said. No, according to what you said, the Gobi is full of monsters. How could those traveling merchants come across? Don't your lord know about cultivators? A cultivator? Lin Yu was stunned. There are still cultivators in this world? What? Didn't your lord hear about it? Su Zhong asked, strangely. In our great desolate country, in addition to the chosen ones by gods like Lord, there are also many ordinary people like us who have lived here since childhood. They gain the power to communicate with gods through cultivation, and then gradually change. Strong, such people are cultivators. Of course, there is still some gap between the cultivators and the chosen people like Lord. Not only are they slow to cultivate, but they can't summon the servants of gods like Lord. Speaking of which, Su Zhong did not forget to flatter Lin Yu. However, Lin Yu didn't pay attention to this. Instead, he was shocked by what he said. Ordinary people here can also practice cultivation? If he guessed correctly, the ordinary people that Su Zhong mentioned should be the natives of the primitive continent. Then the power to communicate with the gods is to gain the power of the system. In other words, these people can also be cultivated and upgraded. It's just that there is no way to summon territories, recruit troops, and upgrade rapidly like their lords. This is kind of interesting. It seems that this world is not as simple as he imagined, and it still has its own cultivation system. But think about it. The primitive continent is the center of all worlds, and there are monsters everywhere, so how could they be just ordinary people? If he can absorb these talents for his use, then the strength of his territory will definitely become much stronger. It's just a pity. Because he was so remote and desolate, he didn't even have a cultivator to lead the people. It is estimated that in those larger territories, there will be many cultivators to take over the people, after. Lin Yu asked Su Zhong about the world again, and gradually began to have a basic understanding of the environment he was in, the Great Wilderness Principality where he is now. It is one of the 10 subordinate duchies under the kingdom of Xingyao. Being in the primitive continent is a relatively marginal place. Because of its desolate and remote location, it is called Great Wilderness, and it is one of the 10 principalities with the lowest strength. In the principality, there are cities all over the place, controlled by various lords, big and small, and they compete fiercely with each other for various resources. There was even more friction between the principalities. If you want to survive in this environment, you must constantly improve your strength. Saying so, It is imperative for him to explore the depths of the Gobi, and he can also earn more magic energy. Thinking of this, Lin You asked Su Zhong to go back first. And he hurried out with 4 sixth-order plants, including Lingxi. As for the territorial garrison, it will be handed over to the remaining Ivy Mushroom Demon King and those newly recruited 5th-tier troops to guard. Anyway, since he is in a remote place, he doesn't have to worry about other lords coming over. After more than half an hour, Lin You finally came to the depths of the Gobi. What surprised him was, deep in the Gobi, there is a very huge rock fault. As high as tens of meters, the two sides of the earth form a clear height difference. If you want to keep going, you have to climb down the fault. It's no wonder that there are no monsters running to Huangsha City to harm it. It turned out to be blocked by this landform. Lin You stood tall. At a glance, I can see the endless flat land under the fault, and it seems that it is not as desolate as expected. Instead, there were overgrown weeds, and some unseen tropical plants began to appear. And the height of dozens of meters is not difficult for him. He can easily climb down with the plants, and then continue to move forward. After walking for another 10 minutes, they finally encountered the first monster. A third-order hyena gallops past. Name, Clawed Hyena. Race, Beast. Level, Tier 3. Strength, 42. Physique, 37. Agility, 45. Spirit, 38. Skill, Bite. Introduction: a canine monster that grows in the Gobi Desert. It runs fast and has a strong bite. Dog meat, it's a good thing, stop it and don't let it run away. Seeing the running hyena, Lin Yu's eyes lit up instantly, and he hurriedly surrounded him with the plants. The hyena seemed to feel threatened. After seeing them, it turned and ran away in the opposite direction. But how could Lin Yu's plants give him a chance to escape? I saw the wood demon dragon in the sky flew down violently, turning into an afterimage and attacking the hyena. The fleeing hyena didn't even react, its neck was cut open, and it fell to the ground with a whimper. Kill the third-order hyena to gain 10 magic energy. The prompt sounded in Lin Yu's mind. After a while, he rushed over with Lingxi and 2 blood monsters, and happily put away the hyena's body and put it in his personal space. Not bad, I can add dishes tonight. Lin Yu had a smile on his face, and then moved on, looking for monsters everywhere. After rising to the 6th level, the capacity of his personal space has been increased to 200 units, and it is no problem to hold hundreds of monster corpses. So he spent the whole day exploring the Gobi, www.manganovel.com, constantly hunting monsters to collect magic energy, and collecting monster corpses by the way. And as he goes deeper, the level of monsters he encounters is getting higher and higher, and there are more and more monsters. In the end, he even encountered 2 sixth-order monsters. Fortunately, the plants around him are strong enough. In the end, all of them were solved without any risk, and more than 200 points of magic energy were obtained. Along with the 2 huge monster corpses, they stopped going further and only hunted nearby. Until late evening. Lin You brought the plants back to Huangsha City and called Shuechangui over. Lord, why did you come here in person? Shuechangui took some of his stewards and hurriedly greeted Lin You, who had just entered the city. I just came back from outside, and I stopped by to see. By the way, how are the statistics? Lin You asked. Shuechangui hurriedly replied, go back to the Lord, it was done by noon, but since you are no longer, I just kept it. Really? That's fine. Just give it to me later. There's one more thing I want to ask. Are there any veins of iron ore or copper or nearby? Mineral veins? Shuechangui was stunned for a moment. Do you mean the place where ore is produced? If so, there are many mines under the nearby mountains, all of which were dug by the previous lord. Really? Lin You looked happy. Originally, he just asked casually, but he didn't expect that there were actually mineral veins nearby, and they were dug by the previous lord. Thinking of this, he immediately said, that's just right, you help me to inform everyone that anyone who is willing to help me collect or can get 10 caddies of meat from me every day. You don't need to collect too fast, just be diligent, just healthy and strong. Your lord, what you said is true. Hearing Lin Yu's words, Shuechanggue and the others widened their eyes one by one. 10 kilograms of meat, and it's still monster meat. It might not be a big deal if you put it in other places, but to them, it is incomparably precious. And Lin You said, it's 10 pounds a day. This almost solved the problem of food and clothing for the family at once, and there was even a surplus. They can guarantee that as long as the news spreads, countless people will sign up and rush to do this job. This should be fine, right? Lin You then asked. No problem. Absolutely no problem. I'll let you know right now. Shuechanggue nodded excitedly, and immediately left with a group of stewards to inform the news from house to house. It was exactly as they expected. As soon as the news came out, it immediately caused an uproar in the city. What did you say? You can get 10 caddies of meat in just 1 day's mining. Or did the Lord say it himself? Quickly sign up for me. And my son will go too. Damn it, stop cooking, hurry up and sign up for me. I'm going too. Count me in. In the blink of an eye, the streets of Huangsha City turned into a pot of porridge. A large group of people dragged their families and followed the stewards in charge of registration, surrounded them with 3 floors and 3 floors, and they were all talking about signing up for themselves or their own men. Of course, those stewards didn't forget Lin Yu's request, they only picked those who were healthy and had no hidden diseases. After all, things like collecting ore are too weak to be able to do it. Lin You still has to take this into consideration, and the reason why he asked the territorial people to help collect ores, instead of asking the plants to go. Apart from the fact that the plants wanted to hunt with him, one of the reasons was to improve the lives of the colonists. Anyway, he harvested a lot of monster corpses today, so it's perfectly fine to support him for a few days. That's all. The vigorous registration continued into the evening. By the time the registration list and the statistics of resources in the city were delivered to Lin You, it was already dark. Lin You looked at the list in his hand. There were more than 50 people in total, which was almost as he expected. This should already be the most young adults in Huangsha City. The rest are basically the old, the weak, women and children, or the older ones, so it would be more suitable for them to take care of the crops. The air in this world is much richer than the world he was in before. He heard from the residents that ordinary crops only take 3 months to mature. This special seed of his is faster, it is estimated that it will not take as long as 3 months. After this period of time, life should get better. The future is promising. Next. Lin You flipped through another resource statistics. The above records the details of each household, as well as the construction of Huangsha City. It is written in great detail, even more detailed than what is shown on the territory. It also gave him a deeper understanding of Huangsha City, and he also knew what to do next. Thinking of this, Lin You put away his things and went to the side to make a fire and barbecue. After the meat was cooked, he sat directly next to the fire and clicked on the ranking information under the territory function. Yesterday, because I just arrived here, I didn't know anything, so I forgot about it, and I don't remember it until now. Soon. A ranking interface appeared in front of him, displaying 2 options, Kingdom Ranking and Principality Ranking. But it seems that because of his lack of authority, the Kingdom Ranking is displayed in gray, so he can only click on the Principality Ranking. Immediately afterwards, a detailed list popped up. What surprised Lin You was that in the ranking of the principalities, the ranking was based on the lord level. That is, ranking among lords of the same level, to evaluate the comprehensive strength of each lord. Thinking about it carefully, this is quite reasonable. It not only increases the competition between lords of all levels, but also promotes development. The king of this wild country has quite a set of skills. Thinking of this, Lin You looked at the bottom of the interface, where his ranking was displayed. Not on any list. Sure enough, with his current territory and strength, he couldn't even make it to the list. This was something he had expected for a long time, so his expression didn't change much, so he directly clicked on the list of Tier 6 lords and checked it out. First place, Qiu Chongxing, Tier 6, humanoid. Second place, Ji Yunchuang, Tier 6, angels. Third place, Nangong Jianyu, 6th order, undead. Fourth place, Yan Rang, Tier 6, demon. Fifth place, Angelou, Tier 6, beast. There are hundreds of pages, and a total of 10,000. After that, the rankings will not be displayed again, and they are not even qualified to be on the list. To Lin Yu's surprise, the first-ranked arm was actually a humanoid type, and the ranks at the bottom were also varied. It really deserves to be called the real primitive continent, and there are so many amazing people. And after the level has been raised, some of the originally weak arms have also begun to shine, frequently appearing on the list. It's probably not an easy thing to get on the list. After reading the 6th order list, Lin You came to the main page of the principality list again, and continued to scroll up. When sliding all the way to the top, Lin Yu's pupils suddenly shrank. What did he see? Level 10. The 10th rank list. Hanging so high at the top of all lists, was enveloped in a golden light. This is the second time Lin You has seen the 10th order. The first time it was still in the grey fog area. That terrifying world-devouring beast, even when he thinks about it now, makes him shudder. To put it lightly, let them be almost wiped out, not of the same order of magnitude at all. How could he not be shocked to see Tier 10 appear again now? He hurriedly clicked on the list and saw that there was only a gold-trimmed name hanging high at the top, and there was nothing else. King, Ji Xinghe, Tier 10, Elemental System. Lin You looked at the name in shock. He never imagined that the king of the Great Wilderness Kingdom had reached the 10th rank. On the same level as the swallowing beast. How powerful does this have to be? No wonder he was able to establish a principality, Lin You finally understands now. In other words, if he wants to establish a duchy, he must reach the 10th level. 10th order. This is too far out of reach for him now. He didn't even squeeze into the 6th order list, let alone anything else. Indeed, there is still a long way to go. However, this also rekindled Lin Yu's fighting spirit. Since others can do it, why can't he, Lin You? Maybe one day he will suddenly rise up and build a forest country whose name is resounding on the primitive continent. Lin You couldn't help but fantasize in his heart. Then close the interface and continue to view other rankings, while paying attention to the trend of the chat channel and collecting useful information. The time of the night passed quickly. Early the next morning, Lin You took the people who had signed up for mining to the barren mountain range behind Huangsha City and started arranging for them to collect ores. Lin You strolled around the neighborhood. Sure enough, as Xue Changgue said, there are 2 artificially excavated mines that lead directly to the iron ore and copper ore veins below. And the mineral content is extremely amazing, even far beyond Lin Yu's imagination. Because the underground rock formations near us are relatively shallow, veins like this can be seen everywhere. Standing aside, Su Zhong explained in a timely manner. Xue Changgue was too old to go up the mountain, so he sent him to follow Lin You and lead the way. Hearing his explanation, Lin Yu's eyes brightened. Is there such a thing? Why did the Lord choose to leave in the end? You must know that having such a huge ore vein near the territory is definitely a unique advantage for a lord. No matter how many people can't grab it, it's really incomprehensible, or stupid, that the Lord just gave up. Su Zhong didn't seem to dare to comment on other lords, and smiled bitterly. Lord, you also know that our place is remote and the environment is harsh. Apart from this ore vein, there is nothing to ask for, few people can stand it, so does that lord. It took a month before I couldn't bear to move out. That's true. Lin You nodded silently. The environment of Huangsha City is really unbearable for ordinary people. If it weren't for his plant system's extremely strong survivability, he probably wouldn't be able to keep going. Looking back now, he seems to have earned it. The appearance of these ore veins solved his ore resource problem at once, and he could even build many buildings that he had not dared to build before, and could also be used to build the city defense of Huangsha City. It was a surprise to him. This abandoned city doesn't seem to be as bad as he imagined. Thinking of this, Lin You suddenly burst out with infinite energy, and began to distribute the mining tools he had just made in the production workshop, calling on the people to start collecting ores, and then transporting them back to the territory. In order to improve their lives, those territorial residents were naturally motivated and digging hard. After a while, there was a clanging sound in the mine, and the scene was quite lively. After looking at the place for a while to confirm that there was nothing wrong, Lin You left the mountain with the plants around him and rushed back to the territory. On the way back, he also stopped by the newly reclaimed farmland for a look, and found that the batch of seeds planted the day before yesterday still showed no signs of sprouting. Not to mention the second and third batches that were planted later, there was no movement at all. It seems that there is no water source for irrigation, even as special seeds grow extremely slowly, which is a bit difficult. Lin You couldn't help frowning. Lord, you are here. At this time, Shuechanggue, who was inspecting the condition of the farmland in the distance, also found Lin You and hurried up to greet him. Why are you here? Lin You turned his head in surprise. I have nothing to do, come and check the condition of the farmland. Shuechanggue smiled awkwardly. I don't know if the Lord came here specially. What are your orders? It's nothing, I just stopped by to see the situation of the farmland. I didn't expect it to grow so slowly. Are you talking about these seeds? Shuechanggue looked at the newly renovated farmland next to him. It is indeed a lot slower than other places, but there's nothing we can do about it. Who told us that the environment here is not good? If we changed it to the past, we could only grow some cassava and the like to make a living. The seeds given by the Lord can grow in such a place. Incredible. Then have you never thought about connecting to the water source before? Lin You asked. Of course I have thought about it, but around here, except for a few dry wells with some water, where will there be any water sources? Shuechanggue looked around at the barren land around him and couldn't help sighing. As an old man here, why doesn't he hope this place will get better? It is precisely because the efforts of generations have been fruitless that so many people finally choose to leave their homes and flee to other places. After all, they are just ordinary people, and their abilities are always limited. Lin You stood aside. Naturally he could feel his helplessness, his eyes were a little dignified. During this time, it was not that he had not thought about solving the problem of water sources, and he even arranged for the wood demon dragon to go out to explore the surroundings every day to find water sources. But the result was nothing was found. There is such a big problem. Even if he wants to improve the living environment in Huangsha City, there is nothing he can do. Swoosh. Just as he was thinking, there was a sound of breaking through the air. The wood demon dragon that went out to explore the water just flew back from outside. Originally, Lin You was mentally prepared to return in disappointment, but unexpectedly, there was a sudden message from Wood Demon Dragon that the water source had been found. Have you found a water source? Lin You was shocked, and immediately went up to meet him. Through the contact with the Wood Demon Dragon, he quickly confirmed this matter, and immediately followed the Wood Demon Dragon with ecstasy, and hurried to the mountains on the edge of the Gobi. When he took all the plants over the mountains and came to a mountain stream 5 kilometers away, he saw an underground river flowing under a deep hole that had been blasted out. Isn't that the source of water he was looking for? It was only after some inquiry. It turned out to be because the fun-loving Mushroom Demon King secretly rode on the back of the Wood Demon Dragon while he was going to the mine, and ran out everywhere. When I saw a small animal running past, I threw a few explosive mushrooms down. In the end, the small animals didn't explode, but instead exploded an underground river. I really don't know whether to scold it or praise it. Forget it, for your merit, I won't blame you this time. Lin You patted the Mushroom King's head. The Mushroom Demon King, who was still huddled in the corner, jumped up and down happily. Seeing this, Lin You suddenly smiled bitterly, ignored it, and rushed back to the territory again. Although the water source was found, it was far from the territory. A full 5 kilometers. And it's still in the rocky underground. If it wasn't for the explosive power of the Demon King, I'm afraid there would be no way to blast such a deep rock. No wonder the residents of Huangsha City haven't discovered this underground river for so long. And even if they were found, I'm afraid they wouldn't be able to open a canal on the rock. Of course, things like Yu reading www.yuyukangsha.com are not difficult for a lord, at most it takes more time. So after returning to the territory, Lin You immediately used the magical energy accumulated in the past 2 days to recruit the 5th order grass and tree spirits to mutate. Good luck this time. When the mutation reached the 9th time, 2 bursting mushrooms appeared. In addition to the Mushroom Demon King and the one that mutated the day before yesterday, there are a total of 4 exploding mushrooms. The canal blasting team was established. Then Lin You took the blasting team and a few other plants and rushed to the direction of the underground river. The residents were also very excited when they received the news. They all mobilized, picked up tools to dig out the land outside the city, prepared to dig a river channel, and did a good job of collecting water. Even those women and children spontaneously joined the ranks of carrying soil and making waterproof materials. At the same time, Lin You also brought the plant army to the underground river, estimated the height, and started to let the mushrooms blast a channel on the rock next to the underground river. For a while, the sound of the explosion continued to echo in the mountains, and a wide passage gradually appeared, extending towards Huangsha City. The gaps and loopholes that appeared on the way were sealed by the territorial people who came over with waterproof materials, and they could be watered immediately after they were completely dried. The leaders are united, and there are busy figures everywhere outside the city and between the mountains. It was not until afternoon on the 4th day that the canal was finally opened and connected to the moat they dug outside the city wall. All the gaps and loopholes along the way have been patched. The leaders were looking forward to it, their families gathered outside the city, and even the men in charge of mining came back in a hurry. Boom! A loud bang came from inside the distant mountain range. The people who were waiting outside the city were all shocked and looked at the canal on the mountain in unison. After being silent for a while, a crisp sound of crashing, like the sound of water, suddenly appeared in front of them with a clear stream. It's water. It's coming, it's really coming. Success, we succeeded. Great. The Yellow Sand City finally has water. Is this true? I'm not dreaming, am I? Woo-woo, that's really nice. The leaders cried with joy and hugged each other tightly. Some were even incoherent, blushing with excitement, and shouting everywhere. When the initial turbidity washed away, the water finally turned into a clear stream, rushing into the moat, which even attracted the old people to tears. Their whole life of protecting Huangsha City is worth it. Let's go meet the Lord. At this moment, someone suddenly thought of Lin You and shouted into the crowd. The crowd, who were originally excited, immediately reacted. Yes, thanks to the Lord, we can bring the water over and get up to meet him. Let's go together. Lord is our great benefactor of Huangsha City for generations. That's right. The Lord is kind to us, and whoever dares to disrespect the Lord in the future, I will be the first one to stop him. Count me in. Count me in too. While shouting, the residents rushed towards the entrance of the mountain, and they all gathered outside the entrance. When Lin You finished his work and rushed back with the plants. When he saw that they had popped, they all knelt on the ground, and they immediately stunned him. At the same time, a prompt suddenly sounded in his mind. Congratulations, you have gained the respect of the people and gained 50 faith. I go. 50 faith. What's the situation? Is it because he repaired the canal? Lin You never imagined that he would gain so much faith just by solving the water source problem. You know, even those territories with thousands of people only have a pitiful 1 or 2 points of belief every day, and some don't even have any at all. He got 50 points at once, which is enough to show that this time the lords respected him from the bottom of their hearts, and truly recognized him as a lord from the bottom of their hearts. Sure enough, everything he did was very wise, and just as he was stunned, an invisible force suddenly gathered on him from all directions, making his strength abruptly increased. This is the power of faith? Lin You was surprised to feel the changes in his body. He felt that he seemed to be much stronger than before. The power of this belief is truly amazing. Thinking of this, Lin You packed up his mood and walked in front of the crowd with a smile. Get up, now is the time to be happy, don't act like a mourning. Lord, we won't say nice things, but as long as you are willing in the future, our life will be yours. A man who had just returned from the mining farm had tears in his eyes, and his body was shaking violently. He couldn't hide his excitement at all. And as soon as his words fell, the others around him immediately responded. That's right. From now on, our lives are all the Lord's. If anyone dares to speak ill of the Lord, I will never stop talking to him. Me too. In the blink of an eye, the whole scene turned into a mess again. The crowd was impassioned and described their inner excitement. They have lived in Huangsha City for decades. The reason why he refused to leave is because there are family members here, and because this is the place where they were born and raised. As for their hometown, who doesn't want it to get better? Now that there is finally a Lord who brings light to them, the respect in their hearts can be said to have reached an unprecedented height. Lin You also knew that they were in a turbulent mood at this time, so he didn't stop them. After they all gradually calmed down, they continued, I know your intentions. If that's the case, then I'll give you a task. Lord, you said, even if we try our best, we will finish it. I don't need to work hard, I just want you to take good care of this canal. As well as the construction of Huangsha City, it's time to get those cultivated land. I hope that in the future, Huangsha City will develop into a big city like other places. City, are you confident you can do it? Have. The leaders shouted in unison. Some people are even excited and have fantasized about the bright future in their hearts. Seeing their reactions, Lin You nodded in satisfaction. After saying a few more words of encouragement, he left with the plants. As for the territorial people, they hurried back to work around the newly opened canal, and the entire territory changed its decadent atmosphere. Lin You, who returned to the territory, finally relaxed. After a short rest, he got up and went to the Tower of Arms. After several days of gathering, he had already collected enough materials to upgrade the troop tower, and raised the troop tower to level 6. Building name, Tower of Arms. Building level, level 6. Architecture introduction, you can research the advanced form of the existing arms and make them recruitable. It needs to consume mana, and the level of the arms cannot exceed the building level. Research rate, 1 type/day. Required for upgrade, 1250 wood, 1250 stone, 500 iron ore, 500 copper ore, 2500 magic energy. It's also thanks to the people who are mining. Work very seriously, even harder than Lin You asked. In less than 3 days, I have collected enough iron and copper mines to upgrade the towers of troops. With Lin Yu's remaining stone and magic energy, he finally raised the Tower of Arms to Tier 6 and started researching the first Tier 6 arms yesterday. This time, Lin You first chose not to study the grass and trees Yuan Ling. Rather, it is a more practical and powerful wood demon dragon. When I was in the novice village before, due to the shortage of resources and the regional blockade, I needed to collect a lot of resources. So he never had the chance to use mutation on the wood demon dragon. Now that he finally escaped from that area, he no longer had any scruples. He came under the Tree of Life and called out the recruitment interface. Sure enough, there has been an additional Tier 6 army that can be recruited. Without hesitation, he chose to recruit directly. Immediately afterwards, a prompt sounded. It takes 250 magic energy to recruit the 6th tier troops. Do you want to recruit? A full 250 points of magic energy. Fortunately, Lin You went to the depths of the Gobi to hunt monsters a few days ago. Coupled with the accumulation of fire-baked lotus flowers in the past few days, he gained a lot of magical energy. After deducting the magic energy consumed by upgrading the Tower of Arms and researching arms, there are still more than 2,000 points left, which is enough to recruit 10 wood demon dragons. However, Lin You thought about it for a while, and decided to go the elite route. Because training is more valuable, he only recruited 5. In an instant, the light flashed, and 5 huge plant dragons appeared in front of him. Name, Wood Shadow Dragon. Race, Plant. Level 6, 0/500. Strength, 375. Physique, 375. Agility, 420. Spirit, 375. Skills, Swift Shadow, Super Regeneration. Introduction. The advanced form of the Wood Demon Dragon, the speed is further improved, and the well-deserved Air Overlord among the intermediate arms. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.